let's go live. We're going to have an issue because I know my camera's not on here because I didn't realize it was a problem. Hello, Internet. Welcome, stream people. We have some lovely human beings here with us.
We see your dot though on
You see my dot?
on Twitch.
I'm fixing that one. I'm like, I'm gonna pull this up, but I figure I'll do my introduction. For those of you who haven't been on my stream before, you can guess what I look like based off the sound of my voice. Okay, guess the color of my hair before we start this. But I'll do my introduction last so I can get this all set up. But I want to go around and introduce, or I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves as we go around. We'll start with Randall. Randall, what are we talking about here today?
Hi everybody. So I am Randall, aka Lone Wolf X UZ. I was pegged to be the director for voiceover on Brassheart. Brassheart is a game by Hexy Studios out of Poland. So another Polish dev. If you like The Witcher, they're not quite them, but they're hoping to achieve those heights one day. There you are, Batgirl. Actually, it's more like Catwoman. Yes. So we put together this amazing team. I got with Rachel, and we started casting for Brassheart, and this is what we have, and the demo released today.
Woo! Featuring puppies. Let's go technically on my stream. What is this? Counterclockwise. No, clockwise. Got it. Addie, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, I'm Addie Gale. It doesn't matter, either work. Addie listeners on Twitter and other places. I'm relatively easy to find. I've been here on the stream before, so if you recognize me, hi. And I'm a voice actor. I am sort of starting to do a lot more writing now as of late, and I play Paula in this game.
I want to clap.
Paula Zagorska.
Wonderful. Next up, let's go. I keep calling you David. Do you want to go by Dave or David?
No, David, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. David Goldstein, voice actor, and I'm horribly sorry to say I forget the name of my character.
Professor Zagorski.
Professor Zagorski. Okay.
And a few others.
Sorry.
And a few others.
And
Paula's father.
Yes. I'm pointing this. Is that right?
Or other way.
Maybe. Is it?
Yeah.
Other way. I'm her dad. Her dad. I'm old and I don't know what I'm doing here, so the fact that I even made it to the stream is
the internet.
So
back in my day, we had pigeons. We tied it to the strings of their legs and we sent them forth. Sorry, Jasmine, you're
true.
How can I follow that?
Easily.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Yates. I am a British-based voice actor, so it's 2:15 in the morning for me, so I apologize if I stumble over my words. I'm up late. I've had so much tea. You can find me on Twitter at Jasmine Yates VA, and I play Tamara.
Yay.
Tamara, a friend of the protagonist, which is Paula.
Yes.
And then we have Rachel.
I didn't do my announcement.
Our host.
Hi.
With the most.
I'm Rachael Messer, the owner of the stream, and having an issue. I'm not an egomaniac. I just can't fix my camera, so I'm slightly bigger than everybody else. But I like to put that as maybe I'm a giant. You don't know. You've probably not seen me off stream. I could be 18 feet tall. Let's
you have to see more of you.
Fan theory, okay? My name is Rachael Messer. I'm a voice actress for anime and video games. I've been in some things such as Warframe, System Shock, Paladin, Smite. Some of the anime I've been in are Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Goblin Slayer, Tokyo Ghoulry, a bunch of others. You can check out my website at rachelmesser.com. It's spelled Rachael because I spell it correctly. Every other Rachel spells it incorrectly. At me, girls. Try me. Let's go.
And don't forget, one of the most important things that Rachel does for the community is offer classes.
I do. I have a free class in my Discord going on tomorrow at 2 p.m. It'll be a mini class for 45 minutes. So try and stop by. I'll be answering questions and everything. But I announce all my classes over there. I have 4 dogs who know when I'm streaming and are frequently given treats from my stream chat. So those of you who have been here, you are familiar with the barking. But if you are new, Yes, my dogs are this wild, but also chat encourages it, and they know I'm streaming, and they know there's a box of treats over here that they would like access to. So I'm sorry about that. I also play Valkyria in the demo of Brassheart, which I'm trying to get.
Not just the demo, but the whole game.
No, I still got to record the rest, so I don't want to jinx it.
There's more.
there's more. So we wanted to kind of talk about. Oh, there's one. Okay, I have at least my wiener in my lap that I can give a treat to. This is the jar over here. I know there's a slight delay, but we'll give one of those.
There's the jar.
They got eggs and sausage last night for dinner. I cooked them up specifically eggs and sausage. They're not spoiled.
Oh
Dog
my
farts.
God! Wow, fancy.
It's been cold.
My dogs
and they want to run, and
be
I need them to
jealous.
go to sleep. Do you still have kittens?
I do, but they are not kittens anymore. They're almost
Yeah.
a year old.
It's a long
they're
time.
Still kittens. He's still a puppy, and he's 14.
Yeah, I
young
mean,
at heart.
the way that my cat acts, though, one of the 3 that I have, he just acts like the king, which is hilarious because his name is Aslan. So,
Oh, very nice.
yeah.
Addie, if you keep it up, you're going to become like me, and you're going to end up with a zoo. I just want to put that out there.
Don't do it.
Rachel, I
Don't do
already
it.
have 6 animals in total, so.
I'm so proud
You're a
of
cat
you.
lady?
I'm
I had
so
no
proud
idea.
of you.
I have 3 dogs and 3 cats.
Oh.
So I figure
Okay,
what
that's
we'll
enough.
do, I put in chat, if you guys want to download, the demo is completely free. So if you want to hear these wonderful actors in action, there we go. You guys can download it. I'm sure these lovely people would love it if you clipped together your favorite voice acting moments and put them on Twitter and tagged the actors. I know as an actor myself, I love it when people do that. Some of you guys did that for Hush Hush, and it was a lifesaver because I cannot play through all the routes in that game. And so people were very dedicated to it. Man, I'm telling you, the real MVPs half the time are the people that go through and play the games because they are lovely, lovely people. But I wanted to go through and kind of talk about some stuff. I figured I could talk from my side about casting, directing, but I wanted to hear from, Randall, your side of this is a game company you worked for before, how it was kind of branching into directing, and then we'll go through with the actors and we'll talk about kind of their experience with things, how the audition was on their side of it, all that jazz.
Sounds amazing. So I wanted to talk to everyone kind of about the process from a voice actor's perspective. Hexy Studios, I did some work with them as a voice actor previously on their board games. They make primarily board games. They have one called Hard City and Orbital, and they do trailers for other companies who have board games. So they did quite a few for sort of big board game companies and different things like this. So I did some voices for those trailers. And some time ago, the developer is like, "Hey, we were working on this game years ago and COVID happened, and now we want to come back to it and we want to have English voices." They had the Polish ones. So we want to have English voices. Do you want to, do it? And that turned into like, "Oh, we have like 40 voices. We need a bunch more people. Do you know anybody?" And I said, "I know somebody who could help." And that's how it turned into a casting project. So I was tagged on now as the director for voiceover, and Rachel is the casting director and assistant director, helping out with listening to all the auditions and deciding what's the best voice for the best part. Keep in mind, now Brasshearts is like a point and click cyberpunk themed kind of game, right? So it's one of those where you click your character and you have to pick up the mushroom and connect the mushroom with the pipe, and then that turns into crack, and then you give the crack to the crackhead, and the crackhead gives you the key to the dungeon, and so that's the concept of that game in the old school. And all of these guys are part of this amazing project that is years in the making, takes a long while to make a game, but it will be released later this year. The demo's out now, and I wanted to start with Rachel about the initiation of the casting process. So I told Rachel, "Hey, listen, we have these characters, we need people. What do we do?" And then Rachel, what did you do?
So I put out a casting call. If you guys don't know, I put it out actually on Discord first. That's normally where I go to with pretty much everything. Those of you featuring Phoenix, those of you who have been around on my content and on Instagram and Twitter and everything, you know the first place I let anybody know what's going on is my Discords. So I put it out on Discord that I was going to have a casting call to let people know, hey, keep your ears and eyes open. I put it out on Twitter. It got, I think, what I love right now is Twitter has the, here's your engagement. It got 140,000 impressions, which was very nice. 1,400 likes. And we got somewhere over a bit over 1,000 auditions. So almost everybody who left a like on there left an audition. So it was
How do you go through all that? You get 1,000 auditions. How do you go through all that?
So I listened to every single one. A lot of casting directors will not. They'll kind of jump around, or they will. There's different ways you can scan through an email. So if you're submitting and you don't put anything, there's a good chance that if you don't put anything and you attach files, it's going to spam. Now, luckily, I check spam, so I can see where some of that is. But if you don't put anything, there's a professionalism to how you structure your email. And so some of that there's little clues that directors and casting directors can pick up on of, is this person experienced in what they do? Now, I don't always equate experience into they can't be cast, because I hear a lot of new voice actors who have not worked in many projects, who maybe don't have the marketing side of things or the business aspects of voice acting down just yet, but they're marvelous actors and they have a lot of potential, and I love finding those people and kind of giving them a boost. So I listen to every audition, and unless the audio, that's the next kind of filter I go through with auditioning, is the audio trash? Can I use the audio? Sometimes people have mouth clicks and pops, and some of that actually can be, I checked with you, Randall, because I know you were helping with some of the mixing. How much editing do you want to do? Because if we're going to have somebody who's got, say, Pola, I believe, has 1,000 lines, 2,000?
Something around there, yeah.
Something about that. You don't want to use a lead character and have to micro do all of the audio and have to go, okay, there's clicks here, there's pops here, I need to fix all that. But maybe for a character with 1 or 2 lines, that would be something that we could go, okay, I believe in this actor, I believe in the heart of the cards, let's give them a shot and see. I got that reference, thank you. See how they do. So I went through that, and then I create these little folders on my Gmail that just say like the character's name, and I listen through and I mainly go, is this voice too old or is it too young, and is it the right style? So I have a class coming up February 4th talking about the styles of acting, and I wasn't the only director who's done this. I actually saw another Twitter thread that was linked to me about somebody saying everybody keeps auditioning for this video game like it's anime, and it's not anime. And that's the thing, is people tend to think a lot of voice acting is the same style, but there's drastically different styles, even from video game genre to video game genre. I mean, you look at, or even animation to animation, how, a dad character sounds in the new Fallout game is going to be drastically different than how it sounds in Borderlands. That's going to be drastically different than how it sounds on Fairly Odd Parents. Like, there's going to be these different styles of acting. So I go through, and that's the hardest one to coach, because you don't want to give somebody 1,000 lines and have to micro direct to get the right style. So if they're not in the style, we had some people, and you can kind of tell that from artwork, which is what I'm going to cover in the class, of the artwork gives away the style of the voice acting. So I look through there and I say, okay, who's the right style? Who's too old? Who's too young? And they don't make it. And then I sit through for hours and listen to normally like 15 actors for one role, and just go, okay, slowly whittling down, this one I'm going to remove this person, and this one I'm going to remove this person. Sometimes it was down to rates are too high. We had a few people, rates were too low, and I said, I'm going to pay you more than this because you deserve more. But sometimes there were some rates that were just too high for indie games budgets.
There was a character, and I mean a person, who calculated the rate that would come out to $28,000.
Yep. We had more than a few that, if you calculated for, they only auditioned for Pola, and if you calculated for all of her lines, was like 20,000, 15,000. I had one girl, I feel like this had to be a typo, but I want it not to be, because I want this story to exist. Somebody quoted they wanted to do per line $114 per line, and they only auditioned for Pola. And I was like, you want to buy a house? It's like $300,000 for that character. This is an indie game. That ain't happening,
I-
friend.
I kept asking Rachel, I'm like, is this common? Is this like a serious thing? Because I'm like, I can't believe that these people aren't trolling. But
Hey, know your
It-
worth, but know that the market might not be able to always match your worth or what you think your worth is.
I don't know. I'm like, you didn't even make that much on Blizzard.
No.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
But yeah, so I went
Anyway.
through a bunch of them. I ended up getting in a 4-hour call with Randall, where I went through and we went back to back. Sometimes, like for one character, Randall would prefer one actor, and I was like, no, I like actor B, and we would present our cases as to why. And Randall was very, very respectful and normally like, well, listen, you've done this for a while. You're casting director. Trust your intuition. If you say, you believe in this actor, we'll go with it. And I think it ended up beautifully. And you actually
I think it was great.
You actually had the brilliant idea, speaking of Professor Zagorski, and we had Durr, and we had reads that we had finalized it to 3 actors in each category. We had reads that were very animated and then very subtle, and then very animated and very subtle. And it ended up being, I think we picked, did we pick Durr first or did we pick, I think we picked Zagorski first.
It was almost at the same time because it was either going to be one or like contrast. It was either be one way the contrast or this way and then the other contrast.
Yeah, one animated and one more subdued, and I think we ended up going with Zagorski was more the subdued, calm, and then we had Durr being very frantic and energetic, and a lot, which the actor did great with. I wish he was here because both of you guys did so well. Of when you put those lines together, I'm sure they're going to sound beautiful. So let's go next with Addie. Addie, you were sick during the audition process, weren't you?
I was sick as a dog. Which like I felt so bad for. Mostly because like, oh man, I was sort of waiting to feel healthier to audition. And I obviously know you both to some degree. So I was like, man, I really want to like do my best because I really, really care for these people. And yeah, it was tough. I knew that I wasn't gonna mask it entirely. Because you guys had heard me speak multiple times already. So it was like, I'm just gonna do my best. And rather than focusing on like my vocal quality, I tried to focus more on like her personality quirks, which I think probably helped. But yeah, it was like, I think I spent close to like 2 hours fully just downing tea and like honey so that way I could like give myself the best chance to perform well. And that's really kind of what I went in to do, was just perform at the best that I could, because sicknesses don't last forever. So I was like,
yeah, exactly. Like we know when someone sounds like they have a cold or something, and it's like, okay, well, if we like what they're doing so far, we'll have them, do another read when they're better. So we put that aside and be like, all right, we'll contact them and have us send us another few lines to make sure what we're hearing is what we're hearing.
Yeah.
But how did you so you saw the audition and you saw the character, and how did you decide, okay, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to approach it?
So what what kind of shocked me, and I guess kind of drew me to the character, was that she kind of looks like me. Like if my hair were just a little more straight and I had green eyes, like, I kind of look like her. So that was fun. And I think there's like some parts of her personality that sort of match with mine if I'm really excited about stuff. And that's something that I'm really drawn to. I think I tend to be kind of a somber sort of person overall. So to have a reason to like be excited and curious and sort of like walk this world with like almost like a fresh set of eyes was something that I really was like, yeah, I want to try for that. And yeah, there's some kind of like, to me, almost like some sort of innocence and beauty and like just like pure curiosity and like just trying to figure something out. And yeah, I just think that's really cool. So that's why I went for it.
And what about you, David? Oh, it's flying around.
I'm trying to get it up on the banner, so don't mind me while I do tech stuff.
Right. So the same question to you, David. You saw the audition. There was a role that you figured, hey, I could do this one. How did you approach it?
Yeah. Well, I scanned all the roles, and the professor was, I believe, the second one listed, and it was a combination, I think, of both the artwork, um, the character description, and more importantly, the lines that were included. It felt, I felt like I had something right away. Like, I don't know if Addie and Jasmine have the same reaction to auditions where you can have everything in front of you, and if the character doesn't come to you right away, it's a little bit of a struggle. Like, oh, what am I going to do? It's not coming to me. This guy kind of came to me right away, and that's not bragging. That's just the luck. I'm an old man. I'm a dad. So there was a lot of things that I could latch on to, and so I'm also an improviser by trade. So I kind of trust my initial instincts, and my initial instinct was on this guy. I was confident in it. I wasn't judging it. So I went with what first came to my mind, and I think I gave you a couple different takes, which for any other actor out there, I only do if you really have two different takes of it. Hi, sweetheart. Speaking of who I'm a dad of, just to show you a little bit of range and stuff. And luckily, I guess one of them landed with you. So, here we are.
Yeah, definitely. It was again, like Rachel said, both were good, and then it was kind of a decision. How does it play against the other characters in the game? So then it came down to like, okay, so if we decide to go with this voice, how do we compare it to the other actor? So when as voice actors, you do get cast or you don't. I can't reiterate this enough. It's not always about you or the voice that you're submitting or your skill or your talent. Really, there are a lot of technical things behind the scenes. Sometimes it doesn't fall in your favor. So don't feel discouraged by that.
Yeah,
we try to
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It's interesting to say that. That's the first time I've heard that really in voiceover. On camera, you hear that all the time. Well, too tall, too short. It's not the chemistry or whatever is not there. It's interesting to hear you say in voiceover, like these two voices are going to be together a lot and they don't mesh, or their characters don't mesh. That's something I never heard before, and now it's something else that I get to worry about.
Yeah. So I
Get to worry
I see all the
about
time on Twitter. It's just like, oh, I feel like I want to end it all. I'm like, no, don't don't give up.
No, in all honesty, the best you can do is give your interpretation of it. We already don't have the job, so put it out there.
Right.
If you like
What
it,
are
you
you
like
losing?
it. If you don't, ain't losing
and
anything.
you took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say that, like, when you're auditioning, you don't have the job yet. You're not losing anything by auditioning. In fact, you're learning new things. Especially if you don't get something. It's like, all right, so there's a definitive way to improve, and that's kind of why I like auditioning as much as I do. It's like every time I don't get it, that means I have something to learn. I have something to study. And I think going forward with that kind of mindset is actually really important, especially for new actors and actors who have continued on.
And to let it go. Once you put it out into the world, let it go. If you're confident with what you did, it's no longer up to you. And like you said, it's a million reasons why you may not have gotten it.
Mm-hmm. Jasmine, how's the audition process for you?
Oh, terrifying. Yeah, but when I saw the brief for tomorrow and when I saw the artwork, there was something in it that reminded me of my grandmother, who was an artist, funnily enough. So there was a bit of a connection, and that made it so much easier and so much less daunting to actually go ahead and record an audition and really get into the character and figure out who she was and what made her tick. And yeah, that made it easier. That made it a lot easier, but and it helped that I didn't have to put on an accent. So
it helps too.
Yeah, we had
swings and roundabouts.
I think with the German as well. And both times we went with the native speaker, but we had this person is clearly not native but can be coached. Or they were very close, but like their website said American. You go, oh, okay. And then we would have a native speaker, and the native won out both times, but it was close. I think with with Tamara, it actually ended up being the littlest thing in your audition that made me love your audition. Like the second I heard it, I was like, okay, she's saved. Like I didn't have to hear any more after that until we got into the final round. And it was something that at first I had to when Randall and I were talking about it, it didn't fit the context of the line. But you didn't have line context with the audition, which was intentional by my part. Some people got context, some people didn't. Tamara didn't. And you had this part in your audition where you took creative license and you were like explaining your painting and very quickly whispered under your breath of like Valkyria's army's moving from the north or something like that. And then you played it off like, anyway, I think I'm going to open this. And I loved so much hearing an actor take a choice like that and be so committed and bold, because it told me we wouldn't have to, there's something called like hand holding through lines, which is we have to coach you through every single read of every single line. When an actor is that creative and bringing something to the table, you go, okay, this can be like a collaborative process where some of the lines, they bring something that maybe director-wise and assistant director-wise we wouldn't think of, but it works so well. And that's why I was excited to have you. Of like, I heard that choice, even though it didn't fit with the line context, which I think is a good sign for all the actors in chat or people listening to auditions, is even if you make the wrong choice, but you show you're creative in an audition, it'll tell the director you know what you're doing and you're okay to be creative. And it made all the difference to me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I always try in my auditions to make a bold choice. Whether that choice fits with the final project, I've got no way of knowing that. So I just make the bold choice anyway. And that helps me so much. And clearly it's paid off. I failed and I won by failing. So there we go.
What's interesting... Oh, go ahead, Randall.
It's funny because as a voice actor and in this process as a director, one of the things that I'm hearing as well are about these choices, and people who are afraid to make the wrong one. And I have to say, we can direct someone who's easy to direct if they're able to come up with ideas on their own, and we could say, that was maybe too snarky, maybe something else, and they're able to come up with something else. That makes that job so much easier. So even if it's a wrong choice, the fact that you're able to toy with it gives us a lot more to play with. So that's really good.
From a casting director perspective, so it's really fun also, bringing in that actor side of each one of you were cast for completely different reasons. It wasn't like I, as a casting director, set a bar and said, okay, any actor who jumps over this bar wins the role. Addie came in partly, even though she was sick, Randall and I knew her from D&D. She'd been our DM. We knew the things she was capable of because we'd spent a year listening to her voice. Jasmine took a creative choice, and even though I hadn't worked with her before, I was like, I'm willing to... I think we've said this in the casting of like, no, I have faith in this girl. I put my bet and my money on her. Cast her, and I'll prove she does well. And then with David, I hadn't worked directly with David. I know I'd recommended you to a... by name to a different game company that was looking for actors for, I want to say it was Great Gatsby, but I don't remember for sure. But they were looking for actors, and I was like, you can look at these people. They're on my roster. I think that they would work. But what's interesting about David's is his range was so impressive that each of the characters, I was like, I have to use him for something. We had a little a catch-all of like, these are actors I just want to use. And I threw David in there, and I think I threw Dave Cherry in there, and I was like, I want to work with these people. I like their range. They can work in anywhere, and I can direct them in anywhere. So, that's why I ended up moving you, because we were having trouble with Zagorski. There was a lot of comedic stuff, and I was like, I want something kind of smooth, especially to be a dad, but not so smooth that it sounds like, hi, daughter, I'm mature. He's got a little bit in his personality, and David just nailed that perfectly. And then I listened to his other auditions. I was like, we have other characters. We can make this work. So I say we go with him.
Yeah. If you want, audience chat, if you want to check out the beginning of the game, is this letter that Zagorski writes to Paula, and so that's all David just narrating this letter, and you can even get a real good sense of what she's talking about. It's very fatherly. It adds it's a lot of color in it. So it's a real good example of what she's talking about. And I absolutely agree. You never know. It's scary when you hear like, oh, we know this person, we know this person. It's not because we know, like, oh, we know Addie. We know what Addie's capable of, right? And we listened to all of the different Paulas, and there were other good Paulas. But as she said, there was something personal for her, and I heard that. The same with David, something personal there, and with Jasmine as well. She said that there was a connection. So it's interesting that there were all personal connections for all of these characters, and also to say that Rachael voices Valkyria, which is the robotic AI overlord.
Robo Ray.
So,
Hail Robo Ray.
so there's something personal there too. Right. And that wasn't just thrown in there. There were auditions for that, but it turns out if you hear a voice and you're an actor and you work with somebody, chances are you're going to work with them again. So even if it's a small role or something small, don't be afraid to put in for it. Don't be afraid to work with, on a project that maybe you're like, you never know, because as Rachael said, there were other games that she put your names forward for. So,
and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say really quickly to tag on that. Best advice I ever got is you're not auditioning for that role only. You're auditioning for that casting director. You're auditioning for that production company. I know a lot of them. I'm sure we've all done a ton of workshops, but a lot of them say they have like an A folder, a B folder, and a C folder. A folder, you nailed the part, you're perfect for it, and they want to use you. B folder is what you're aiming for. It's like, that's a good actor. Maybe not 100% right for this, but I want to remember that person for a role down the line. And so you're not just auditioning for the part that you're auditioning for.
What I also love, and I want to add on, is it's interesting when you look at, I hear so many actors talk about marketing and networking and everything, and yet like none of this was so and so, went into all the discords and hung out in all the discord chat. And as a teacher, I hear so many. I ask people, what are you doing for marketing? Well, I'm leaving comments on everyone's Twitter, and I get into all these free Discord calls, and I'm like, that's not really the memorable marketing. Like, some of it is just, Addie was, I think, Addie, you were a student of mine at one point.
I was.
Yeah.
That's how we met. I was a student of yours, and then it just kind of like it started to evolve into like, oh, you want to play D&D? Oh, I run D&D. So it was like, it was almost like I backdoored my way into more voice acting through D&D because we're just a bunch of nerds.
It wasn't your intention, and I think that's part of it.
No,
it
wasn't.
Just being friendly towards people in the industry, you'd be amazed the connections that you make. Versus, when you go in with an agenda of I want to be friends with X actor so I can get, Y roles, it never really works. And you've got some people who their acting talent are getting in, their range are getting them in, they're, auditioning for these parts and their resume. There's all these different ways that actors can get in, that it's not I have to do this one exact thing. The other thing that we listened for, and this is something I'm currently listening for in the current Brassheart auditions, because there's more going on. They close on the 30th. I listen for actors who carry the text, not actors who are carried by the text. So there's so many actors who just say the lines and they focus more on the voice side of things. But when an actor is bringing the text to life, of playing with the words, and the words sound like they're spoken by a human being, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention here, because that is far more, even if the voice is a little off, we can work with that too. I can't work with an actor who just says, boy, I'm so excited for this game. This is going to be amazing. And you're like, that's boring as hell. I'd rather hear like somebody giggle through the line or somebody sigh when they're tired of something. That's where they're really bringing the text to life.
Like, I want to note, like, Rachael has listened to all of these, and I've listened to the ones that Rachael has presented. And I have to, one of the first things that I learned, that I realized, was one of the first comments I made was like, a lot of these sound like anime. And the reason being because of the way they approach the text. Yeah. Rachael will have a class that goes into detail about that. They may, for example, be in a B folder for anime. That takes it out of the running for the game, because when you have someone who sounds like they're a character in the game as opposed to someone who sounds like a character in anime, we're going to go with the character in the game first. So you may be a voice actor with range, but it's important to know what you're putting in for. So if you give us an audition for anime, it's going to go into another folder. Maybe if we cast for anime, we'll look at you again. But keep in mind, there are other actors who give us good reads for the game we're looking for. So it's really important to sort of take Rachel's advice into account. What am I actually saying? What am I doing with the text?
Something
That's important to note.
Something I would also add is anime is so very, very rarely needed outside of anime. Like, there's a good chance there are some games where it's like anime style, but very, very rarely. I had a second point I was going to add to that, and I've completely lost it. It was important too. It'll come back to me. It'll show back up at some point.
Now I'm feeling lucky that I don't have any anime game at all, so maybe that helped me in this one instance.
I never know. To go pretty soon. Well, let me ask, because I think don't have so much more time with
We can
with all
take a
of
little
our
bit
lovely
longer.
actors.
For you guys also, if you're interested in the VA Discord, Sweet Kicks linked it, and then I just linked it as well. But yeah, we can
Awesome.
go a little bit longer. I'm okay for right now. The computer's not overheating or anything.
So can I ask some questions about the game?
Go for it.
So I know that we spoke earlier that Addie had downloaded the demo and have taken a look. So let's hear your thoughts as a gamer, and then as a voice actor. What was your first impression?
Okay, so like as a gamer, huh? What a strange perspective. I think as a gamer, the first thing you hear is the professor speaking to you through a letter, and you're seeing all these different images of different things that relate to what he's talking about. And to me, that's super engaging. I like in the beginning of games where it's like I'm getting little glimpses of things and someone's telling me a story. Like, it almost feels like my dad or my grandfather sat me down and is like, "All right, it's story time." And I love the feeling of that. It just makes me feel like a little kid and I get all giddy. Um yeah, and it's very easy to learn in terms of like, oh, you're just clicking. You're just clicking and you're moving and you're touching different things and you can pick this up and you can talk to this person. Yeah, so it's just a very classic, I would say. It gives me a lot of, like, more classic feelings of, like, when I was little and I would play little point and click games, and just feel like an absolute genius when I figured something out. Um, yeah, it's just enjoyable. It's a feel good kind of game. The demo is anyway. As a voice actor, I could not get very far without bursting into tears because the second I heard myself speak as Paula, I was like, like I like backed away from my computer because I didn't know what to do with myself.
Isn't that
I was
weird?
like, I was like, I'm talking to myself, kind of, but it's Paula, so it's not really me, but it's also like that's me. So it was very, very crazy experience, and I remember like when I played it a little bit this morning, I was actually in a call with my friends and I just started sobbing and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm great." Yeah, so it was just like an absolute delight. It's just an overwhelming feeling. And then as I continued on through the game, knowing like this cast is so good, you
They
guys,
are. They
so
are.
good. I I wish I could express how much I enjoyed it. It was just like I just wanted to click everything possible so I could hear everyone talk the whole time. It was just like absolute delight. Yeah. I was just over the moon.
You know, like I did the same. It's not the first time, like when you hear yourself in a project that you've done, right, or when you're playing through. But when you're playing and you're like you're hearing yourself, and you obviously don't remember all the lines, but
Yeah.
was there a point where you felt like, "Ooh, I could have said that better," or "Oh, I said that really well," or Did that come across?
I think there were a couple of points in time where I was like, why does she sound sarcastic? Like, I was like, because I'm just using my normal tone and my voice automatically, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I talk with confidence. It doesn't matter if I talk softly. If I say, that's nice for you, it sounds bad. It just sounds bad. It doesn't matter. And if I say, that's nice for you, that doesn't sound genuine
Ouch.
either. So it's like,
Ouch.
I lose every time. It doesn't
You are
matter.
mean.
I
You
know.
are mean.
I know. I don't know why. So yeah, so there was a little bit of like sass and kind of like almost like this edge that I gave her and that she was like expressing as she spoke, and I was like, she sounds like she's just out of her teenage years. Just like, man, I don't know. That was like very jarring to listen to, knowing that it was me and like being on the other side, because oftentimes I'm told, you're just awful today. And I'm like, I'm really trying not to be.
Interesting. I didn't get that. Like, Rachel, how long did it take before it stopped getting weird hearing yourself?
So oh God, I gotta think back 10 years. Shit. So when I started, I was 20, and I'd hear myself in some stuff, and I was like, man, this sounds weird. But it was more like, this doesn't sound like me, and this doesn't sound right. And I think the issue was, it was like it's like somebody learning how to play music. You know what the song's supposed to sound like. You can see how you're kind of getting there, but you can hear all the wrong notes. So my brain was never like, yeah, you did great. It was like, okay, you got a lot more notes to learn, girl. Like, we're getting there. You're booking things, but like, we need to talk. And I feel like that pretty much on a yearly basis. If I listen back to old stuff, I'm like, girl, how did you get work? There are some.
That's so important though. Like, if you don't feel like, if something you've done 6 months ago does not embarrass you, you have not grown.
Yeah. Now, there are some
Fair.
roles like Moji from Paladins where I wasn't sure it was me when the trailer came out because I hadn't used that voice ever in a booking. And when I was recording it, I was so sure it was annoying that they were just letting me get through the recording session. And then they were like, all right, so like, what was our backup? Because we're going to just replace her and not tell. And that's how anime and some of the bigger games are. You don't get told, by the way, you were recast. The game comes out and you go, oh, that's not me. Okay, never mind. So they just bring in somebody else in the back. More common in anime than say video games. But there's been a few performances where I was like, what did I put in my coffee that day? I sounded good that day. If I could do that every day. But it's like once a year that I have a performance like that I'm proud of. And sometimes it's not till like 2 or 3 years down the road that I listen back and I go, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. I really like that. To me, my weird moment was when I used to be addicted to League of Legends. Some of you guys know it was a problem. All right. I spent probably more hours in League of Legends than in my college career. And so what I used to do is when I was like playing the character, I would say their lines with them. So if I was going to like I wouldn't like put a bunch of energy. I wasn't that person, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll say some of these lines with the character. And I was playing, I want to say it was Smite. And I started doing that with my character in Smite. I was like, oh shit, that is me. Like, I'm mimicking myself now. And that was the weirdest one so far.
Oh my goodness. Only you.
Rachel, I want to ask you to bring it back to you. You're saying, especially in the earlier days, you would listen to your performances and not be happy with it. Mm-hmm. How much of that do we put on, well, the director had a chance to change it. They liked it enough. They went with it. So it must be what they were looking for versus, like, for instance, like Final Fantasy VII, I think my acting is the worst thing about the whole game. But, we had a long session. We didn't use it all up. They could have very easily, like, that's what I gave them what they wanted. Yeah. I might not have thought it was right, but I'm not the director. So at what point do you just say, that's what they asked, that they're happy with it?
That's a brilliant point. Because there was an anime specifically, I remember it was one of my earlier ones. and I hated the line, and I was mimicking. So with anime, like it's playing the dub, and you're saying it, and they had this weird mouth flap where her mouth was open for longer and shorter at the end. So I was saying it just to get the timing right. Like they had it on loop, and they were just going, and I was like, okay, and I forget the word, but it was like happiness, happy, and I was like doing this weird thing, and then they were like, got it, and I went, oh, what, can I try it again? And they were like, no, we're good. And I was like, I was just like trying to sync it to the sound. And I got roasted in, I think, like one of the anime reviews. They're like, I thought Rachel was a good actor up until this episode. And I'm like,
man.
but there's those moments where, you know, I've straight up been told by a director where I was like, I can do better than that. And they're like, that's the take I like, and I'm the director, and we're going with it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you just say it once. But they sign the paycheck, and, you know, it's really rough as an actor because you can't go online and say, you know, I hated that performance too. I wanted to do better, and then, like, put it all in the director, because that's not going to get you more work. You just kind of have to, like, take the slings and arrows and go, well, here's hoping they look at the greater body of my work.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because some directors know nothing about voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll listen and they'll be like, I did for a Chinese game, and they had I had to say the Chinese names, so they had somebody come in and teach us how to say the names. So they're on session, and I go through it, and they're like, okay, next. And I'm like, "Okay, sure," you know, and they're just like, they're happy with everything. There was, and I'm not saying I'm amazing, but I was expecting maybe like, hey, can you do this again? They ran through it. So sometimes they don't really know so much about the nuances of voice acting. It just sounds good to them. Other times, there are directors who will say, okay, try it again. That's good, for sake of time. They can't spend too much on a line. I know this is a problem that I have to go through as well. They can't spend too much on a line. They just have to say, okay, it's good enough. Let's move on. And it's unfair to the actor because sometimes games do come out, and what do people say? Oh, the voice acting sucks. Whose fault is that? You're a bit right. It's a little bit on the directors, but yeah.
What's important?
It's time.
As an audience
Time's
member,
fault.
It's time's
Yeah,
fault.
it's your fault.
What's important as an audience member, and I think that there is some, you know, and I'm about to switch my YouTube content up to some of this, of informing the audience of, here's some of the layers that go on behind the scenes, because people just see the final product. And what I love to use as an example is Cats, the glorious clusterfuck that was Cats, the film. You see brilliant actors acting terribly. If you see actors and through most of their stuff they've done really, really well, and all of a sudden they're trash in one show or one game, you can either look as maybe they were really having an off day, because you don't know. Sometimes, you know, I've gone into the studio, I've talked about this before, with ruptured organs that were actively bleeding out. So I don't know how great my lines were going to be that day. But I went in and I was like, I have to record this now, and the bleeding will at some point stop. I'm not saying do as I do. For the love of God, don't do what I did. But I was like, eventually the bleeding will stop and I'll get over this. But some days that happens. You know, some days some people may have been in a car wreck on the way to the studio, and they're still shaking and they're still in their head about stuff, and it comes out in the performance. But a lot of the time, if you can see that 80-90% of their backlog has been really good work, and all of a sudden something's off and all the other actors are off too, chances are that's a director.
I'm so sorry to jump in. I do actually have to
You're
go.
fine.
I apologize. I really
course.
apologize. I've stayed as long as I can.
It's
Thank you
3
so
3
much for
a.m. your
having me.
time.
It is 3 a.m. my time. Thank you so much for having me, and
Thank
you
you.
for everything. I hope to see you all
Thanks
soon.
for coming in, Jasmine. Looking
Yeah,
forward
thank
to the rest of Brassheart as you save the
know.
day.
I'll be there.
All right.
Bye, folks.
What's
See you
your
soon.
what's your Twitter before you head out once
Yeah.
again?
It is Jasmine Yates VA. Please feel free to follow me. I love being followed, just, you know, on Twitter and not in real life. Thank you, folks.
Famous
All
last
right.
word.
I just
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Now we
Bye.
should balance out to 4, and I can make this even. Yes.
Hey, all right.
I can do my Mandark laugh. Thank you very much.
Perfecto. Now
So
it's good.
we can see if we, unless you guys have anything you want to add, we can take some questions from the chat. If chat has any questions.
Chat's had a lot of good comments. I've been glancing over what they're talking about. A lot of them seem to have a lot of similar experiences and whatnot.
I will get that.
Belfagor says something interesting, that they would purposely flub a line if they didn't like it, so they couldn't use it. Is that something you want to try and do?
Oh shoot! That's brilliant. I mean, I already
Yeah, it's
can't
not a bad
speak
idea.
English, so it's
That's a pro level move right there that
Yeah.
I'm now gonna
Not a
steal.
bad idea.
Yeah.
I've accidentally done it though. Like if you mess up the start of a line and then you get in your head about like, oh man, the start of that line was really bad, and then you end up like flubbing because you're thinking about that. I hadn't thought about personally doing it.
Pro tips from the chat. Very nice. Very
know-
good. And you didn't have a chance to look at the game as of yet, David.
No, it's been a kind of a busy day. I was downloading it as this is going on, and I will once the little one goes to bed.
You're
give
oh
it
no,
a
your
shot.
daughter can play it. It's age appropriate.
Okay.
She can click. She can click on things.
I will bring her in and show her what Daddy tries to do for a living.
Yeah, sure. It's always good to have. Fair enough. Well, when the
He won't be
game finally
impressed.
does come out, we will have I did speak to the dev. We will have game keys. Everyone loves a giveaway. You know, it's not going to be that expensive. It's not Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy, but we will have game keys to give away. So look forward to that. If Rachel would be so kind as to host that, we will be giving it away.
Yeah, and I'd love to play it because technically my computer is sitting back here in parts. So we're working on it. This is my voice acting computer, which does not have the capability to stream. Oh, it's trying. I'm sorry if this is a slideshow on Twitch, but it's trying.
We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. At least you have a cool arcade cabinet.
That's true. I do have that. If I could stream, I wonder if I could stream on that actually.
David, you said you so I'm playing Final Fantasy Remake right now. And I have to, a lot of people have different opinions on it. I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Okay.
I'm enjoying
I'm for full disclosure in the DLC.
Yes, that came along with the I think it's
I think the official name is for the Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate Episode Intermission.
Intermission, yes.
Very long name.
Yes. So I do have the DLC. I will look for that. See how that goes. But when it comes to the voice acting in that, it's even, I would say, balanced. There's some places where I'm like, that's an interesting take, and somewhere I'm really engaged and involved. So it's interesting how that came across, because it's a massive IP.
Yeah. I mean, I think technically it's a localization project because I think I'm allowed to say, I mean, we were basically dubbing because the game had already been recorded in Japanese, and we were having to fit for time and having to fit match a tone and everything like that. So, you know, as everyone who's done dubbing, I'm sure Rachel's done it a million times, you're juggling like three balls at once, trying to hit the time, the tone, the lines, and also act well. So you really put yourself in the hands of the director in that point. In again, I'm not trying to brag, but I think I'm directable well. I take good notes and try to give them what they want. So you have to kind of in that situation, kind of put your ego aside and your judgment aside. Like I definitely had, excuse me, an idea of how I wanted the character to sound and to act, and the director and I worked from time to A to find the voice and B find the tone of the character, and you just have to kind of for anyone who's done improv before, the best analogy I can do is if you're doing live improv on stage, if you step out, you have this great idea for a scene, but your scene partner comes out and starts something else first, you have to lose your ego, throw your thing away, and support that person. So that's kind of what I had to do, is that, yeah, I had an idea of how I think he should go, but the director wants this. My job is to give him what he wants. And that's what I did. And then any judgment I like have afterwards is like, I mean, I did my job. I gave them what they want, and they didn't replace me, so
Hey, if they were
it was good
happy
enough.
and the
Yeah.
players are like, I haven't gotten to the DLC yet, but I am playing for it. I'm looking at chat. Those guys that are interested in playing the remake, you know what? If you enjoyed the first Final Fantasy VII, some say 8's better. Whatever. If you enjoyed the first Final Fantasy VII, get the remake. It's a good trip. It's a good
And
trip.
in answer to the question in chat, and this is a momentous occasion for you because this is the first time I'm answering a question in chat.
Hey,
I play Billy Bob, who is a member of Avalanche, who Yuffie runs into fairly early in the download.
cool. Billy Bob. All right, we'll look out for that. Look out for Billy Bob. Be exciting. Excellent. All right. Well, that's all I have for the time being.
I'll open it up, chat, if you've got any questions about voice acting or Brassheart or anything like that. I've been linking it a couple times, but again, it is free to download. Some people were asking if the voiceover trailer is out yet. I don't believe the trailer's out yet, right, Randall?
I don't think the trailer's not on Steam, and the last time I checked, they still had the old trailer with the, let's say, Polish voices on their website at Hexy Studios. It would make sense if they released it at the same time, but I did check a couple hours ago, and it was not on Steam yet. So keep a lookout there. We'll post it, of course, on Twitter when it becomes available.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it I have to say, one of the things that when I was playing through the game so far, because a few characters are available from the start. Obviously Paula, Manfred, Philip the butler, Tamara, Pascal's in pieces. You have to put them together before you can hear him, and you have to unlock the door to get to Zagorski. But those characters, and with the music, everything blends together really nicely. I was really impressed. One of the things I wanted to do for this game is to make sure that even if it wasn't a great game, even if it wasn't a AAA title, I wanted people to come away saying, "Hey, you know what? Voice acting is pretty good." That's the bare minimum I want, and I think I achieved that with the cast that we have. You can come away, you can play the game. It's simple enough, it's easy enough. You point, click, put things together, solve puzzles. But when you come away and you're like, "Hey, voice acting's not bad," then I think that's a success.
You know what's interesting is from a gaming perspective, especially somebody who was a gamer before becoming a voice actor, good voice acting is similar to good camera work. You don't notice it until it's bad.
Until it's
So a
bad,
lot
yeah.
of game players, will take for granted of, oh, this sounds, and you'll really notice extravagant, amazing, like, oh man, like this person's really crying or this is really moving me. Same with like film acting too. A really good film performance, you'll start to be brought to tears and you go, man, that was incredible. But most of the time when the acting's good, you don't notice it. And that's because all of the art is coming together to create an immersive experience. Versus when you notice it's bad, something is lacking very hard. Same with if you notice the gameplay's bad or the artwork's bad. When something fails to make a cohesive form that is art and gameplay, then you notice it.
I don't know if you all are the same, but since I've now started acting in games, I now pay a lot more attention to the voice. Like when I was just a gamer and played it, like exactly like Rachel said, if it's good, it doesn't stick out as being bad. It's just a part of the flow of the game. And like referees in sports, you don't want to notice them. You only notice them when they screw up. But now that I'm more into this as an actor, I will focus a little bit more and like that was either an exceptional performance and I'll rave about it, or like that wasn't not the choice I would have made.
It's
But
somewhat ruined
go ahead.
it too. Of it's same with film. People ask me, they're like, "Why don't you watch?" I don't watch movies, and they go, "Oh, why don't you watch movies?" I'm like, "Cause it's my work, and that's all I see. Is I see like where the camera angle was and how this line was delivered and the mixing. It doesn't have the same effect once you start work. Once you see the man behind the curtain and you see how things are back there, it's a different beast. And sometimes that helps you appreciate really great artwork, even more so. I'm about to do a video breakdown on why, hear me out, why The Lost World is almost as good as the original Jurassic Park, and I will convince you in this 40-minute breakdown as to why it is. Oh, here it's a great way. It's almost the opposite. We'll get there. Soon we'll get there. But because I have that industry of, okay, I've got the creative writing background, I've got the acting background, I know enough about lighting, I know enough about film to do this analysis and really tear it apart, that it does, when it's done well, give you a new appreciation. There are even some acting performances I've seen that I go, I would not be able to do that better. I would not be able to even get to that level. Some stuff I'm just like, that's better. That's better than me. Hands down. Appreciate. Good job.
Let me ask an interesting question. Because this has come up quite a few times, and you hear like, oh, it's called voice acting for a reason because you're acting. If you had training, which I assume you guys have had, as an actor, do you think that's important to get or to take a few classes as an actor to apply that to your voice acting, or can you get by with just voice acting training?
Ooh,
This is for all of you.
you guys go first. I've talked enough.
I would say if you even had to choose between one or the other, study acting. I don't think it necessarily, not to diminish what we do, but we're actors first and foremost. We happen to do so in the voiceover realm, but the number one thing you have to be able to do to be a voice actor is to act. It is important to know the genre that you're auditioning for so that you can adjust your acting to it, and you need acting skills to do that. It's like I hear like a lot of acting coaches will say, stay away from, like, on camera acting for commercials or acting for audition prep, whatever. Yes, those are all kind of important, but they all have the basis of acting. So I would say far and away more importantly is hone your craft in whatever way possible. And then it's like you need to learn the rules before you can break it. Hone your craft, learn how to act so that you can then apply it to those specific genres. If you just learn how to act in those specific genres, I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all these points. And so I think this is the weird thing for me personally is I've had very little classes in voiceover and acting. I maybe had a year of university in acting, if that. And when people, learn that I'm a voice actor and, I make my living doing voice acting, I think they assume that I can do all kinds of different voices. And I assure them that I cannot. Rachel, you already know this. I'm terrible at accents. I don't know why. I can't get my brain around them very easily. It's very difficult. It takes me lots of time and lots of effort. And even now, I am not confident in them at all. Most of my acting is just me. And that's I don't know, it feels cliche and it feels like a non-answer to give, right? So I hate saying it, but I am a very specific kind of actor in the way that I don't particularly enjoy doing accents because it's just not something that I gel with easily. It's not something that my brain really responds to well. But I'm really good at toying with my pitch, or I'm really good at changing my cadence up. And I'm really good at taking direction. And I think that is the most important. I'm still acting, but I'm not relying on things that quote unquote voice actors should be doing. I'm not an impressionist. I'm not, I don't do any of those things. Oh, hi, hello, little one.
She runs off.
Yeah, I don't do impressions. I don't do accents. And not because I don't want to, it's just because it's difficult. And I think that I'm allowed to have things that I have difficulty doing as an actor. Yeah, and that doesn't make me any less of an actor. I just have something that I tend to excel in.
That works. I mean, Rachel has preached to the choir many times about the importance of taking both.
Oh,
not
I still have
just,
notes over here. I have an opinion, but I'll let you go first.
but I would say, like, for me, what led I st- I probably started voice before acting. Um, I don't live in the States now, but when I used to, I worked in radio, so I was a DJ. Um, so I was presenting on the air. It's a particular thing being a presenter. You're speaking, like, learning how not to say certain words. Like, some people cuss subconsciously, Rachel, but she has
Oh,
the
it's conscious.
ability.
It's a choice.
She has the ability to turn that off. That's the point. You're in control of that. So presenting, you have to learn to take out your ums and your ahs and learn how to manipulate your thoughts as you're trying to think of what you're to say, but without dead air. So all those are things you learn by doing. But when it came to acting, and I took acting classes later, that added this personality and this flavor to that. So I can take those same skills and add to that and totally open up the range that I'm able to do as a voice actor. So I totally recommend, if you want to be a voice actor, go get coaching, get voice acting coaching, but take a course. You could do it online. There's Zoom courses. Take a course in acting. They will help you, get into that rhythm, get into that groove till you could find your place, and that'll help add to your skill set.
It helps
Yeah,
more than you know.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in real quick before Rachel probably tears my arguments apart. I'm a lot like Addie. I am not classically trained. Most of my training comes from improv, specifically long form improv, which is the short title under that is truth and comedy. You're pulling from your own experiences. You're not necessarily putting on characters and stuff. So it's important to have a basis of you need to know yourself and you need to know your emotions and be able to pull from them. And Addie, you say like you're just playing yourself. You're the only one who can do it. And the truth in your performances come from your experiences, and you'll be able to tap into those and everything. So and I'm I guess the same way. So being able you need to be able to do that, and you need to be able to connect with the material in whatever way that is for you. So that's where I think improv or basic acting or just something to give you the tool to be like, oh, this person, just so you can attach something to it so that you connect to it, however you come about that. Voiceover training is excellent, so you know how to physically do it for each genre, how to do it into a microphone, how to do it, because it's all different, like how to act while standing in a booth reading a script. Like that's hard for me because I'd rather have the lines known so I can focus on thing, but you don't always get that skill, so you need to be able to cold read and get stuff right away. Like this, when we did the lines for this, I didn't have them before we did it. And I had to make decisions on the fly. I was directed, but you still have to be able to make those choices quickly. And that's where both acting and voice acting training can come in. So, Rachel, go ahead and tell me why I'm wrong and everything.
So
I don't
I
think
might be the only classically trained actor here. I have a BFA in theater performance, and then I actually got the BFA in the middle of getting into voice acting. I started 2 years for film and theater, and then I got into voice acting. I will say, having worked with tons of different students, seeing some of my students go on to work for big anime companies, big video game companies, working for them myself, I've seen all kinds of avenues. I've seen the avenues that for sure don't work, and I sometimes try and tell people, listen, nobody's made it down that path you're going. Don't do that. Stop. And if they keep going, well, then that's on them. But I try. I will say that it's a mixed bag, because if you get into it through voice acting, you're going to have a caveat of knowledge that you don't know from the acting side, and vice versa. The other thing I've noticed, and this is where a lot of actors skip, they don't learn about psychology. That's a huge one. They don't study writing. That's a huge one. They don't study business.
Nature.
That's a huge one. And all of these things come into play, and you should hopefully be looking into any of them. If you were to start, to me, I would say just start, because there's no wrong path in that regard. If you start in the classically acting side of things, they'll teach you how to handle an audience. They'll teach you how to present yourself. They'll teach you a little bit of marketing. And they'll teach you the basics like Stanislavski and method acting, which I hate, Uta Hagen, etc. If you go into the voice acting side of things, you're working far more off of experience and exposure. And this is something that I love working with new actors, because so very few come to me with, I've done acting. I had a student this week, actually. He came in from film, and I had to warn him. I said, okay, I'm going to teach you some things, and I want you to make a clear divider in your brain between this and film. Because if you take these things over to film, you're going to hear, you're too animated. You remind me of a cartoon character. You're just like very, very a lot. And I could see you being a Disney, character. That means that some of the voice acting has bled into that side. And I'm like, I like that you get film work. I don't want to, you'll have a hard time getting film work if you let this bleed over. So make a hard divider now. And that's something, the caveat for going down the acting road is when you start bleeding into voice acting, you have to make the separations, where before you've been taught to integrate everything, integrate improv, integrate reality and your emotions in this training. With voice acting, I love working with new students, because one of the first things I'll do is I'll give them 3 monologues. One will have context, 2 will have context, 1 will have no context. And the no context one is my favorite, because you get to hear what actors lean on and who their favorite characters are. So some people have a natural villain read because they like villain characters more. Some will have a natural heroic read because they like that. If they're fighter, you get to hear whatever media they consume. And Randall, we talked a bit about this in Brassheart, of you can hear the media that these actors consume, because we are very social creatures. If you have a friend who says like or I had a friend in college who said totes my goats, which I hated. But you also hear that, or lingo like yeet or F in chat, etc. These are all, and I'm reading a book right now called The Psychology of Language, which is helping solidify these even more. But those are all unifiers, right? They help you identify your tribe in a sense of like, here's all the Twitch people, or here's all the gamers, or here's all the actors. It kind of helps you find your vibe. But we have that same thing with our voice. So there's a reason that you tend to sound like your parents, and some of it is biological, but you also tend to sound like your friends, because that's your social circle you're running with. In the same way you'll pick up lingo, you'll pick up vocal patterns. And it's not just your friends, but the media you consume. So a lot of the time when people come in and they do a lot of anime reads, I can go, well, you watch a bunch of anime. But we had somebody come in and I go, man, this sounds like Pokemon. And then I look up their stuff. I'm like, all they do is Pokemon dubs. No wonder. And I think that's probably, double-sided sword, is they work a lot in that. So they're just featuring my dog, they're just making it more and more ingrained in them. So I don't know if I have necessarily an answer other than to start. There's going to be hard sides on both. I will say that the voice alone won't sell it. You can have the perfect voice, and if the acting's wrong, it won't work for you. And I wrote another one. I don't know what the heck it says, though, but it says something. It says content at the start. Content you consume. There it is. So I've already covered it. So
Content you consume.
yeah, but you do want that acting training, because if you stick with and you have to be careful on both sides. When I got my bachelor's degree, I didn't go back for my master's because I realized in my bachelor's, they're just repeating the same shit they did the first 2 years. Like, there's nothing new really coming out. And then you get some voice acting classes, and even just acting classes in general, where it's just all the teacher says is, here's how I made it, and why I'm great, and what I've done. When those
I'm teaching now.
Yeah, exactly. Those paths might not work anymore. A director or an actor who got into the industry 30 years ago is not going to have the same options available nowadays. So you maybe, if you're wanting to learn how to get into the industry, you might want to learn with an actor who maybe works a lot from remote, if you're remote, or works locally and or moved into the local area. If it's just acting, just make sure they're teaching it, because you'd be amazed how many teachers are just fluff. They'll just tell you how great you are, and then, yeah, that's it, and go on. And there's some actors, Randall, I talked about this with you long ago. I don't even know if you remember it, but I was doing feedback for my classes. And I've been told this before and again and again, I'll probably still get told it, I do not boost actors' egos nearly enough. I give information, and then I just rely on the actors to go take that information and apply it and practice it. But I don't sit there and coddle and say, you're doing so amazing and this is so great. Because that's not what I want to be paid to do. I want to be paid to help, and I won't berate somebody, but I'll try and help them. And there's some actors that all they want to be told is you're amazing, and I'm just not the teacher for you.
That's a really important point too, I think, as like, I don't know, when you're giving someone information, and as someone who was your student, it was very quick that in my brain it was like, I'm my own cheerleader. Like, I have to be the one to do the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, your classes are amazing and give so much good information, but you're not gonna do the things with that information that I want to do. Like, you're not gonna do my job. I have to figure out how to do my job with the information you've granted me. So it's like, I don't know, I think it's a very important, like, mental battle, especially for actors who are like so shy and just want to do well and just want so badly to be part of this whole circle that looks amazing. And it's just like, okay, calm down, take a breath, and try. Like, that's all you gotta do.
I love what you said there. If you got to be your own cheerleader, because I try not to foster that in classes. I do try to foster community cheering each other on, so supporting each other, because that's really how the industry is going to be. You're going to be your own cheerleader, and you're going to rely on the community of friends that you have, not necessarily all of the community, because it's a big community, but, select group of people who are going to want the best for you and root for you. And I think that some teachers, no, that's not fair. I think that some situations and some students are hoping for cheerlead me, tell me I'm great, tell me, validate my ego, I'm insecure, I need this. And I'm like, if you go into the industry with that, you will not come out the other side successful. You'll burn out, you'll give up, because it's just not something that is sustainable.
I will say this is very important to note as both an actor and a voice actor. As much as people like to be, and I say this in quotes, supportive, a lot of people are still low key jealous. They feel a certain way about your success. So even though they're like, oh, great, great for you, keep in mind, not everybody who's cheerleading is on your side. So you cannot rely on the community for validation. It's nice when it happens. It's nice you can take it, but don't rely on it, because a lot of people are jealous when they hear, oh, you got the part of Polo. Why? My voice is just as good.
My voice is nicer than yours. You sound like a mean girl.
You see what I mean? So they'll be like, oh, well, good for you. But keep in mind, a lot of people do get jealous. So watch where you find that validation.
I want to just step back real quick. And for everyone listening, Rachel gave you a key nugget, which is that she is someone who will be honest with you and tell you the truth. You don't hear that very often. So if you can study with Rachel, if you have the opportunity, do so. Because if she's someone who will not BS you, that's a gift and hard to find. So jump on that.
Yeah.
And it is also true. Rachel is opposite of coddling. She's very direct,
very abrasive.
And it's never bad, though, is the other thing. It's like, maybe, okay, she's being tough on me, but also I need it. Like, this is helpful. It may feel like, surprising in the moment. But yeah, looking back on everything Rachel has taught me, it's like, I needed that at that time.
Yeah. I also attest, honest to a fault. Jay says something actually in chat that I also agree with. They get big icky vibes from people on Twitter. To be honest, that's one of the reasons I stay off of voice actor Twitter. It's weird to me. It just feels,
it's like high school.
Yeah, it just feels a bit unnatural.
Bad advice that goes on there. The amount of lessons I've spent undoing Twitter advice, and I'll talk to him, I'll say, why did you do this? Nicely. Why did you do this? Why did you make the choice that you made? And they'll say, well, somebody said it on Twitter. I go, okay, what do they do? Well, they have a lot of follows or got a lot of likes. Cool. Do they work? I don't know. That's the number one question you should know. Are you taking advice from somebody who works? Because otherwise it's blind leading the blind here. And chances are, with even say my my free classes like the one tomorrow, or the content that I put on YouTube that's educational, I don't give the full thing. I give like a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, the rest is over here if you want to know more. And you should treat Twitter about the same way. Like, they're probably not going to give away their golden success story idea or how it's working on Twitter for free publicly. But I have seen people, and it's getting to the point where I almost feel sometimes it's intentional, where they're giving such a bad advice that I'm like, this is just how to get blacklisted. And these actors are going to go do it because they're going to take it as gospel, and it's not going to work out well for them.
Yeah.
But you say anything about it. You know, I talked to another voice actress about this 2 weeks ago. She said the same thing. She got on Twitter for the first time. She's like, there's so much wrong. Like, they're leading all these new voice actors terribly. She goes, do I say anything? Because I'll get destroyed. And I was like, no, just stay out of it. Just say the good things and, you know, let them, I guess, learn if they want to learn that way. But please, like, before you take anyone's advice, research them. Make sure that they're working still. Make sure that they've done projects. See how they got those projects. Ask them how they got those projects. Because a lot of actors will say, like, we just had a whole thing of, how did you come across this audition? And here's why you got cast and these things. That information's out there. Just look it up and make sure it's not nepotism that got them cast. Or, you know, there's tons of other reasons out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you heard our example. This is a casting for a real game. It's out. It's happened. So, you know, the process from step A to where we are now. This is it. So, really, really appreciate the questions in chat. Really, a lot of insight, actually. A lot of your chat seems to be really plugged in, Rachel. I'm really surprised.
I've seen
I was
a few
expecting
students
less.
in here, so.
I feel like we've hijacked a little bit. Like, I think, do we need to get back to the game? Do you want to talk about that?
We
Well,
can
then-
do you guys
I
wanna
mean, yeah,
sign off with
it's the demo. You know, so we're not, you know, we're not selling it quite yet when that day comes. But no, it was more sort of a sit down as the process of getting to the game. The game will speak for itself, hopefully. But as a voice actor, a lot of Rachel's chat are people who are interested in voice acting or voice actors themselves. So I think that it's really interesting. At least this is interesting for me.
Yeah, I see plenty of actors in here who I recognize.
I am very proud
That's
of that. I'm very proud of the community on the voice acting Discord and, you know, in chat and everything, because they're all, this is something I've learned to look at the bright side of things too, is everybody's wanting to learn. Like, this is a community of people who, they put their egos aside and they say, I'm going to show up here assuming there's something that I don't know and something that'll help me. And that mindset alone is life-changing. It'll take you, as long as you keep hold of that mindset. I think the nail in the coffin is when you go, I don't need to learn any of this. I don't need any of this, because there's always something. I mean, Randall, we talked about this with a certain platform, I won't say what, was sending me stuff, and I was like, listen to the descriptions of these you know, lessons that they're free, but listen to them. And one of them was like, here's how to work the main menu. I'm like, this is for people who are established and they're sending this out. We know how to work the main menu. And I said, well, I'll probably listen in anyway. I'll throw it on in the background of something while I clean for an hour and see if there's anything, because maybe I just get one little information out of it. You know, maybe. And I'm going to work during that time anyway, so at least it won't be wasted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just there's so much to go over. I love this voice actor chat. And Rachel's community is really nice, because that's kind of my community. It's the only people I talk to. I stay away from everybody else. They're weird. But she really gives good advice, and the people who stick around are really open, as we could see. So really glad to be part of it and to meet all of you, to maybe you know, do future projects or work together. Who knows? But I'll be happy to share with any of you in the future. So definitely glad we have that opportunity.
So I want to wrap this all up in a second, but I want to let you guys know in chat, I just linked it again. The Steam for Brassheart demo is free to download, and the voice acting is already in the demo. So make sure you play through it, and tag us in clips if you find our voices. Record it and tag it on Twitter and let us see it, because it's always nice to see that, especially the public support. So let's go around one more time and just say where we can find each other. This is just the demo release. We will do a full gameplay.
Yeah, Sebi, as to the price of the full game, I don't know what they're going to release it at yet. It's not a huge 3-day playthrough. It is a point and click, like in the old school retro Sierra games, if you remember like Space Quest or Quest for, those games I used to love.
Ed and Harvey. Yeah.
Freddy the
Right.
Fish. I don't know.
Exactly. So I don't know if I don't think it'll be pre-order. I think they're just gonna drop it and it'll be available. But keep tuned to the Twitter and you'll have news of that as soon as it's available.
All right, so Randall, where can we find you if we want to follow you on stuff? Where can we stalk you at?
Boy, oh
Consensually?
boy. Well, when I'm on Twitter, Lone Wolf XUZ. I'm on Twitch sometimes. I will be trying to stream more for the new year. Blah 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 blah. At the same name, Lone Wolf XUZ. I have a couple interesting projects coming up, so I will post about it. But there's a podcast idea that I've got, as well as can't say much, but it'll be posted. Let's just say it. There are NDAs that have been signed. So so keep abreast of that. But you can look for me there and on Rachel's stream because I come here and hang out all the time.
When I stream. Addie, what about you?
Hi, I'm Addie. Addylicious on Twitter, ADDYLISHUS. I know it's spelled very strangely. I'm also on YouTube. I'm also on TikTok. Most of everything I do is going to be on Twitter or YouTube. This is sort of the big thing that I've been doing this year, but I will be releasing an audio drama here pretty soon on my YouTube. And I will be writing some more things. I'm in the middle of writing a couple more audio dramas for this year, so we'll see about that.
Very nice.
David, how about you?
I'm an old, so my social media presence is low. I'm D Goldstein VO at Twitter and Instagram. I don't stream because I don't know how. I do though. My day job is I'm a technical director and a director. I do direct live streams of other things. If you're a fan of Brawl Stars, their monthly championships, I'm the director for those. And so I direct a lot of esports on Twitch. But other than that, I do have some games coming up that I can't talk about. So it's weird. Can't really promote them.
But keep an eye out.
Yep.
Keep an eye out for some big things. And thank you guys for hosting this. And for
reading chat, they say you have a MySpace following you there.
I do have a MySpace page probably still. Friendster.
Oh, nice.
If you want. I still use Netscape Navigator. If you want to make a game like Zork, I would probably play it. I'm throwing out a bunch of old stuff. These kids are like, shut up, old man.
Do you guys remember AOL?
I still have an AOL account. That's my email for spam.
I do too.
Yeah. I remember when there wasn't an internet. So
yeah, all right.
Yeah. Do you remember the Atari 2600? Because I
had one.
Yes. All right. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for hosting this and for letting
thanks for coming by.
Me ramble, of course.
Guys, if you don't know me and you're new here, my name is Rachael Messer. I'm a voice actress for anime and video games. I have a big video game dropping soon. I actually need to check on when that comes out. So it should be pretty soon. I can't say anything about it yet, but it'll be dropping.
I like how we can't see anything at all. All of us like, yeah, we're doing things we can't talk about.
That's voice actor stuff. I'm dropping the link one more time for Brassheart in the chat. If you want to stalk me consensually, like places that it would make me feel good, I have a Discord. That's the link over there. I have a voice acting Discord that if I have a mod still active in chat, probably has it, but I can't copy and paste it over here. This is my dog, Lily. Thank you for coming to this stream. I appreciate it. Please go download the game and play it vicariously for me, because my computer won't let me play games. So, like, send me clips of that too, please. Thank you all so much. Dabbing, because I saw it in chat. And I will see you guys later. Bye, all!